November 12th, 2025. And of course, a lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on the World Edition. Always a lot happening in the world, and we're always glad to be having these conversations. I think I've got Nick Valverde with me, and we'll see who else joins us as well. Epstein alleged in an email that Trump knew of his conduct. So Donald Trump spent hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with sex trafficking victim, newly released email alleges. So that is something that folks are talking about as House Democrats release new Epstein emails referencing Trump. So definitely Jeffrey Epstein in a newly released email says Trump knew about the girls. And U.S. House to vote on deal to end longest government shutdown in history. So bill to end the government shutdown survives key hurdle before House-wide vote, and definitely we'll see what goes on in this space as House is expected to vote today on ending the record-long government shutdown. And severe geomagnetic storms spark northern lights across North America and as far south as Mexico. And the Israeli president responds to Trump's letter asking him to pardon Netanyahu in the corruption cases. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about in that part of the world as well. So a lot's going on, and we still got a lot more that we'll be talking about. A deadly blast in India and Pakistan have set that region on edge, and Pakistan investigates the suicide bombing that killed 12 outside an Islamabad court. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And a major Chinese bridge collapses into a river just months after opening to traffic. So new bridge in southwest China collapses into the mountainside. And Turkish military plane crash in Georgia kills all 20 on board. That's the Georgia that's over there near Russia and everything like that. And the sharks are circling UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer as crunch points loom. Keir Starmer says he never authorized attacks on ministers. And definitely some people even asking what UK political instability means for the market. And in Pokrovsk, Russian forces use fog cover to push further into that key Ukraine town. So definitely some people are, including those at the Wall Street Journal, asking what the looming fall of a Ukrainian city says about Putin's war. And they're even saying, according to Foreign Affairs, that Ukraine's hardest winter might be ahead of them, and all along those lines. India is being cautious with accusations after the Delhi blast. So, India Prime Minister justice after New Delhi car explosion kills 8. So, Indian police detain suspect in Kashmir after the New Delhi car blast. And Israeli settlers set fire to a Palestinian warehouse and land. As there's still stuff going on in that area, as well as Israel arrested 4 after Jewish extremists attack in occupied West Bank. So dozens of Israeli settlers launched an arson attack in the West Bank as attacks against the Palestinian surge. They found a bucket of lentils, and then it blew up. The menace of Gaza's unexploded ordnance. So genocide stopped only in the media. Gaza endures daily bombing a month into the truce. Gazans still wake up to the sound of Israeli bombs every day, and definitely that's something that people are talking about as well. Taiwan evacuates 8,300 and shuts school before the tropical storm brushes that island, that being Tropical Storm Typhoon Fenghuang, which brings floods to Taiwan. As I said, they evacuated thousands in that area. Protesters and UN security clash at climate summit in Brazil. So protesters break into the COP30 venue in Brazil, and U.S. is looming over the talks despite absence as protests at venues continue. Corruption investigation into former Zelensky associate shakes Ukraine. So Ukraine corruption scandal has been explained. The $100 million plot is rocking Zelensky. And definitely that is something that folks are talking about as this is a Ukraine energy sector corruption scandal. And their justice minister was suspended. We need an iron fist, the Trump inspired favorite to win Chile's election. Security becomes top issue of Chileans ahead of their presidential elections, and definitely call for mano dura as crime rattled Chile is voting for their presidents. And like I said on a couple of the other stories, Delhi is there in India air pollution. Schools go hybrid, mining banned as air quality worsens. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about in the news. Sudan relief operations are on the brink of collapse. UN agency is warning. Woman in Darfur reports rape and lost children amid Sudan violence, according to what the UN said, and that was reported on yesterday. Let's get to some U.S. news, and then I'll bring in whoever we've got with us, further conversations, including what's going on with the Epstein emails and other parts of Epstein, and all along those lines. Shut down silver lining for the Democrats, and Europe's high-tech drone war is being reported in some of the news. What if Democrats' big shutdown loss turns out to be a win, is what the New York Times is reporting, and what Democrats say they won in the 43-day government shutdown. So not an easy call, the Democrats who struggled with their shutdown vote. Space forecasters say severe solar storms could hit Earth and trigger auroras. So definitely, they're even saying that some people can capture the northern lights with just your smartphone. So geomagnetic storms are bringing dazzling northern lights to the U.S. sky, and some people might be grabbing their phones this evening and maybe over the next couple of days and see if they can see this phenomenon. U.S. House to vote on deal to end the longest government shutdown, and we've talked about that, and we'll see what folks have to say about that as well. Jack Schlossberg succeeded in trolling for a cause. Now he's running for Congress. So the social media provocateur gives politics a try. And this is John F. Kennedy's grandson, and he's running for the U.S. House Senate. So definitely a member of the Kennedy's dynasty. Kansas County apologizes over a raid on a small town newspaper, and they're agreeing to pay some folks as well. As a matter of fact, the police raid on small town paper sees a $3 million payout and apology. Press has basically been under assault, is what the New York Post is reporting. And Kansas County agrees to pay $3 million over the police raid of that newspaper and everything like that. The Epstein's file petition is getting its 218th signature, that with the new person coming into office. So bipartisan duo expects to have signatures Wednesday to force a vote to release the Epstein files. So it might be finally hearing what's in the Epstein files. And U.S. Catholic bishops select conservative culture warrior to lead them during the Trump era. So Archbishop Paul Coakley is picked to lead the American bishops. So, and Winona Rochester Bishop Robert Barron is running to lead the U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops as well. But it looks like that's not who won. It looks like this Archbishop Paul Coakley is the winner. And flight restrictions will ease, DOT says, once air traffic controllers return. Duffy won't give timeline to restore flights as shutdown appears near end. And definitely we're getting ready to get to some other news, including the federal THC ban sending hemp companies scrambling. Republicans disquiet over hemp ban threatens the passage of bills to end the shutdown. So we'll see how hemp plays out in the government shutdown as well. So that's just some of the things going on in the world. I would bring in Rick Rosner. I've actually got to bring in Dr. Sharif. I've got to ask you a question because I was watching.
Well, hold on. Let's go back to this story about the newspaper and the $3 million settlement.
Yes.
So when they raided the paper, they killed a person. The editor was this old lady in her 80s, still running the paper. The cops sweep in, they raid the paper. She has a heart attack, dies. So, I mean, they didn't just shut down the paper, they killed the editor. So that's not
where did this take place at?
Kansas.
In Kansas?
Marion, Kansas.
Yeah.
Marion County, Kansas.
Who was doing the raiding? Was that ICE or who?
No, it was. I think it was just the local cops. The paper was running stories they didn't like, and so they shut it down.
I do have a question for you, Rick. Just really quickly. I was watching one of our sports shows. That's the news you heard in the background, definitely, and everything. And I did not realize, because I know that there are oftentimes Fox anchors and everything like that. But apparently Sean Duffy, who was running the transportation department, was on a reality show, because that's something
MTV's Road Rules. Yeah, MTV, they pioneered the whole reality show deal by taking a bunch of young, hot-looking, dumb people and putting them together in a space. And one of them was, they took a bunch of young people and put them on the road and sent them across America. And Sean Duffy was one of these, even now he's got really good hair. And, 25 years ago, he was a good looking, young idiot.
Yep, that's no, that
That's
is what I was watching.
I worked for MTV, and I thought, well, uh, before I go in, I have to. I planned. I acted like an idiot. I walked in there and was like, and acted all dumb because I thought, well, I assumed that that's what they wanted, and they hired me.
Yep. And by the way, the
So
Supreme Court
you're
has
right.
extended.
Yeah.
You're right. They wanted some idiot. You act like an idiot, and then they hire you. That's cool.
Yeah,
Also, I was an intern. They loved if they didn't have to pay you.
Didn't have to pay you at all and everything. It looks like the Supreme Court has extended snap pause as shutting down nears and everything like that. So it looks like the shutdown will end after the House makes its vote. But there's also this notion of what might be found out from the Epstein files, because apparently there's a lot of reports going out that Epstein is saying or said, because he's no longer with us, that Trump knew what was going on and that Trump was maybe even involved. So now that we've got the 218th vote, are we going to find out all of the various things that Epstein was knowing? Because apparently that Epstein said that Trump knew of his conduct and that Trump spent hours with the victim. And definitely there's this whole notion of what did he know, when did he know it, and all along those lines. So what's our take on the Epstein files and what will be the results of this? Is this going to be his version of what?
There are tens of thousands of pages of papers and in the files. And 1,000 victims, according to the FBI, 1,000 young women and girls were roped into this molestation scheme. And my theory is that that Trump vicariously enjoyed the sexual stuff that was going on the island. I worked in Hollywood for many years, and I would enjoy hearing. I've been married and I've been with my wife for 40 years, but I would enjoy, in a creepy way, hearing the stories of associates who might get to go out with like a starlet, or and I believe that was likely at least Trump's involvement, that Trump would hear and see some stuff going on with the people on Epstein Island and in his circle, getting with underage girls. And Trump would be like, "Oh, that's great. They're beautiful." Because, he bought beauty pageants. And one reason he did was so he could walk in on the girls. This is well substantiated, when they were either naked or in their underwear. And I'm just inspecting the backstage. And he got a thrill out of seeing, naked 16-year-olds. And I would guess that he probably got a similar thrill out of hearing Epstein's stories about getting with, at the very least. This is what I think was going on.
No, that makes sense and everything. Hey, Nick, this is a story that you'll find interesting and everything like that. But apparently Trump has said that the United States doesn't have enough talented people to fill jobs domestically. So Trump says the United States doesn't have people with certain talents to fill jobs domestically. So when he talks about the H-1B visas, he's saying U.S. lacks enough talented people, and he's defending that H-1B visa in a interview on Fox that took place, I think, yesterday, and everything like that. So what's our thought? We don't have enough talented people. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough other folks, and we've got to bring people in from other places.
The thing is, so this is like I said, this is a very interesting controversy, and there's two sides to the story. One side is, hey, if we don't award these jobs to Americans, then the thing is we're not promoting Americans to move their way up in society. But then there's another thing, is that if you do recruit internationally, we get people like Dr. Sharif, who's extremely talented, that we could not get any other way. Or we get somebody like Sasha, who's extremely talented, we can't get any other ways. So, if you say, well, let's exclude Dr. Sharif because we don't want to have somebody who is not from the United States occupying his slot, look, we miss a very talented person like Dr. Sharif, who wants to expand the world horizons. He wants to bring young people aboard. Or if we exclude Sasha, I mean, where would the chess show go? Where would Modern Investment? What about the Ukraine show? We'd lose all that. So if you're saying, hey, we're just going to be American, then what we're doing is we're limiting ourselves. Now, at the same time, Is somebody going to jump up and take what Dr. Sharif does or Sasha? Probably not, because they don't have the experience or the development that these two gentlemen have. And so that's what he's trying to say. In other words, you need to have your strength and diversity. I know that Jacoby disagrees with me because he doesn't believe in diversity, but I believe there's strength, diversity.
Well, hold on, there's another thing.
So Jacoby has his hand up. He wants to argue.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Jacoby. Come on.
No, wait. Let me make legitimate points before you guys start the wrestling match. Trump has turned the H-1B visa into an extortion scheme. It used to be H-1B visa, you pay a few $1,000 in processing fees. Now Trump is to get an H-1B visa, the employer has to pay the government $100,000 per year per employee. Trump, that's a shakedown. And also the math is, and Trump, from minute to minute, Trump's not consistent, but the U.S. only has 4% of the world's population. For every homegrown genius we have, there are 24 other geniuses out there in the rest of the world. And we want to suck them in and grab that talent for ourselves, and also to deny the rest of the world the talent. We want all the freaking geniuses.
That's right. We do. So we believe in diversity, inclusion. Jacoby disagrees, so I'll let him have the floor since he has some different ideas.
You could not even say that with a straight face. You tried your best to come up with some defense that they're using, and you yourself could not even say that with a straight face. I mean, the idea that the head of MAGA, Make America Great Again, America First, says that America doesn't have the talent. And he's the leader of America. So not only is he thinking of the U.S. as not really an actual country that he's actually running and he's supposed to be the head of, he's thinking of it as this acquired business that he's looking at. He doesn't even think the people are good. He's done that regularly. But MAGA, and Nick, you're doing a great job trying to defend and parrot the MAGA talking points. MAGA will blindly say, he's right. Yeah, I'm going to listen to Mr. Trump because he says that I'm dumb and the people here are dumb and we need other people, even though we're shipping out everybody else. Diversity sucks. But you know what? Master Trump says, I'm going to have to bring in all these other people because we in America are dumb. So, yeah. Had anybody else said the things that this man gets away with saying and people just blindly defend it. And again, Nick, thank you for giving us an example of how they defend it. But it's just ridiculous.
That was a good example. But speaking of a good example, because there's this little small country, it's not that big, doesn't bring that much drugs in and everything. But apparently they're ordering a massive mobilization as a U.S. aircraft carrier is approaching. That is Venezuela. Are we about to go to war with Venezuela? So that's my question to the panel. And if so, when is the war going to take place? And is it going to be like the Falkland Islands, a quick war? Or is it going to be a long war, kind of like Vietnam? So are we getting ready to go to war with Venezuela?
No, it's just another distraction. But I want to talk about, there's a thing called sane washing. I worked on a TV show where we would have a possum pick the Oscar winners, where we would put two pictures from two movies in front of a possum and bowls of food. And whichever way the possum went, that was the Oscar winner. And it's kind of that way with Trump. Trump says a bunch of crazy crap. He's like the possum, just behaving randomly, and there's a whole industry of right-wing pundits to make sense of whatever crazy crap Trump says, so to put it in some kind of structure so that MAGAs can approve of what Trump said. Like Sean Hannity, he'll have on a bunch of MAGA pundits, and they'll take the day's statements from Trump, and then they'll explain what he really meant. And it's sane washing. You take crazy crap and you process, you chew it up and you spit it out in a way that almost makes sense.
Hey, Rick, just really quickly, what was the rate of success for the possum blind test? Just out of curiosity. So,
Possum did pretty well. Plus, the possum was cute. It was a most possums are not the cutest animals. This one was cute. It had its eyes bugged out a little bit, and it was an attractive possum. This possum.
Hey, speaking of attractive, do you still have this attractive lady on Naked at Night with you?
Yeah,
there's two of them that they
actually
alternate.
You have
Two
more than one now?
well, no, we've been alternating with two. So like we'll
Oh.
I'm going to call Lance today and see which one we're booking for the shows we're doing on Sunday. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
and
All right.
because
Yeah. By the way, that's a show that Dr. Shreve, you really shouldn't look at. It's called Naked at Night. It's on the Pod TV network. All they have is attractive women on now. So, it's going to be difficult for you to watch it.
and also they don't wear because it's an art. Lance is an artist and he's drawing and painting the women, so they don't wear a lot of clothing.
Yeah. But they do wear enough so that we wouldn't violate any standards. So you guys
Wait a minute.
Right,
Wait a minute. We've got a new thing going on. It's almost like Logan's Run, if I remember. No, not Logan's Run. What's the one that the people are in a contest to try to stay alive? It was a popular book. It was also
called Americans.
No, Hunger Games. It's like a new version of the Hunger Games that I just saw in the news because apparently Italy, not that far from where you are, is probing claims that tourists are being paid to shoot at civilians in the Bosnian War. So they're having human safaris in Sarajevo and everything like that. Is investigating these 1990s trips where tourists were allegedly paid to kill civilians, and rich sniper tourists were allegedly paid $90,000 to shoot civilians, including kids. Human safari trips for this particular country.
This is the plot of of a dozen different horror movies, including Hostel.
Well, we have a horror movie that's going live right now in Ukraine, and Sasha knows what's going on there. So maybe I ask Sasha, because the press doesn't give us a lot on Ukraine and Russia. So what's going on there? Are we still in a horror movie over there, or what's happening?
Well, if you look at the site Polymarkets, and you see the percentages of which there will be a peace, let's see, by the end of this year, the chances are less than 1%. So the war is definitely going on. It's not going to be stopped anytime soon. Now, what's happening on the front lines is Russians are losing a lot of men to take some kind of village, to move ahead, maybe a kilometer or even 200 meters or so on. They're losing just a hell of a lot of people. And they are doing the criminal acts, which is crime against humanity, by killing innocent people, civilians, women, children, all across Ukraine. So position of Trump is, okay, let them fight it out. Okay, they didn't have enough fight. Let them keep fighting and fighting and fighting. We'll see what's happened. This is absolutely inhumane situation when you know all the background of this war. You know that Russians attacked Ukraine without any reason whatsoever in February of 2022, 24th of February, and the war is still going on. What's interesting is that today Russia controls less territory in Ukraine than by 2023. So in 2 years, they haven't made any progress and losing millions of people. So Trump says, to all this says, let them fight it out. So what they want, either complete annihilation of both armies or unconditional surrender of one of the sides. What is it exactly this convicted felon is talking about? Nobody?
Hold on. Yeah. Rick, I think that we were actually hearing a buzzing noise. It could have been from you, Sasha, and everything like that. So
It's from me. It's from me. That's why when I'm not talking, I'm turning out my mic.
Gotcha.
All right. What else do we have?
Yeah, what else you got, Rick? What other news story you got that are going on in the world? Well, so what's your take on what's going on? Apparently, we got another right-wing government that may be coming in that's in Chile and everything like that. So not the food, but the actual country. So what is your take on what's going on in
Trump
Chile?
has invited the leader of Chile to the White House.
Well, well, I know that they've got an election coming up, so I won't be surprised if he doesn't invite the leader of Chile. There was a story that I saw recently where he invited, and some people were taking affront at it, including I think Kim, one of the founders of our network, where he invited one of the Middle Eastern leaders, and apparently it was one of the Middle Eastern leaders that had been involved in some of the bombing in the Middle East and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
Yesterday he invited an Al Qaeda guy. I don't know the story behind it, but
I think that's what you were talking about. Yeah, I don't know the story behind it either. That's what I'm trying to find out more about what that story was all about and what's going on in that space and everything. But
Trump does not have to be consistent. He can do and say whatever he wants, and there's a whole industry of people who make sense of it for the people who want to believe he's a genius.
Yep. Well, I know Shaquille's not here and hasn't been here with us for a while, but apparently Australia's top spy is accusing China of targeting its critical infrastructure. So they're saying that Chinese hackers are probing their telecom and key facilities. So are we going to have to deal with that here as well? Because apparently they're warning of Chinese hackers probing their network. And that's something that came into the news earlier today. So we're going to have to worry about this as well.
Yeah, China hacks us thousands of times a day. There's been an ongoing cyber war among the major countries for decades. But here's a fun story. The number one song on the country charts is called Walk My Walk by Breaking Rust, a country group.
Mm-hmm.
And what's fun about it is that Breaking Rust is not people. Breaking Rust is AI. So the number one, for the first time, a song written and performed by AI has hit number one on a U.S. music chart.
So it's strictly AI, no music, no real musicians at all AI?
Apparently. Well, wait, there must be some people. No, well, they can't name any singers who sing the song. The voice on the track is not associated with any human singer's name.
Is that the one where I think there are a couple that are out there. I think there was a rap song that took off. There was another, but I think the person who did it said that they wrote the lyrics, but because they can't sing, they were saying that it's like ghostwriting. Also, there's another thing with on this. So random things that are out there. Not only that's happening. Also, there was another country, I cannot remember which country, they just said it yesterday or this morning, I heard it, that stopped sharing U.S. intelligence. So now there are two countries, because now another one wants to bring up the other one. I cannot remember the name. Rick, you might be able to find it this morning. But the other country wants to bring up war crimes against Donald Trump. And then also, I think the Democrats shared a letter from or some correspondence between Epstein and Maxwell, where Epstein talked about how Trump had been there for hours with one of the victims.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
So that got leaked.
By the way, the second country that refused to share intelligence with UK is, guess what? Canada.
Oh, well.
To share intelligence regarding the Caribbean actions of
that'll be the third country then.
Yeah, who is the second?
Let me see if I can find it. Unless Rick, you're able to find it, but there was another country. It wasn't Canada that I heard this morning.
Well, Canada was announced on CNN that Canada is the second country, but I don't know who is then third country. Who is that? I don't know.
Columbia, according to
Yeah.
AI, Columbia
Hmm.
added to the list.
That's number 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's getting bad. We're and now
Also,
watch. There's going to be more to happen with these bombings because of what just happened with the Epstein, because he's got to cover that up.
Well,
also, the United Kingdom, the UK is having reservations about sharing intel.
It could be the UK and everything like that. Hey, Toby, just getting since we're in entertainment and everything along those lines for some degree, was it the boxing movies and why they don't do that well? Because I actually saw the documentary on Christie, who had gone through a domestic violence situation and all along those lines, and was a contender woman boxer, and Sydney Sweeney is playing her. But now they're saying that movie is a bomb at the box office. So, and they're asking why we keep making boxing biopics, because apparently they don't do that well. So, what's up with
well, bad marketing. Had you heard of Christie before you read the stories that it was a bomb? Also, a gay lead character, which Sydney Sweeney is pretty Trumpy, but Trumpers aren't going to movies, but nobody is going to movies as much as they used to, but Trumpers in particular. And they might show up for a Trumper star, but not if she's playing a gay woman. I don't know. I mean,
let's just be honest about it. The Trump team is not going to, the Trump MAGA group are not going to go to movies to watch about a lesbian woman in a domestic abuse situation, regardless of boxing. And it's not that boxing movies don't do well. Have you ever heard of Creed that they did multiple movies on? That's nothing but boxing. What about Rocky? So, I mean, there are tons of, it's just about how it's marketed.
So here I have an article, 5 reasons why it didn't do well. 1, it's an indie movie without major studio backing, so bad marketing.
Yep.
And number 2 is also barely marketed. Nobody heard about it. Number 3, Sydney Sweeney does not open a movie for you. Like Tom Cruise used to be the last bankable star. You put Tom Cruise in a movie, you're going to get big box office. Sydney Sweeney does not guarantee your movie will be a success. Not great reviews.
So I don't think that it was just because it's a boxing movie. That doesn't. I think. What was it?
So it was up against Predator Badlands.
Yeah. So what you gonna go see? You gonna go see this super cool action movie, or a movie about a lesbian in a domestic abuse scandal that you never really heard about?
Also, we like Sydney Sweeney when she's beautiful and has her boobs out. And in this movie, they've got her unbeautiful, getting punched in the face, wearing a mouth guard, and no boobs in sight.
Yeah, she's definitely getting beat left and right. But there's another popular person that has got a documentary out, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts about this. But Eddie Murphy has got a documentary that apparently addresses the murder of his father, and he sounds off on what he's calling "quote unquote" fake Hollywood, and why he thinks he's being overlooked by the Oscars. And the Netflix doc is called Trek 5, and apparently he's looking at resolving feuds and that elusive Oscar. So, what's our thoughts about this new documentary from Eddie Murphy, who definitely has had a very successful career?
It's probably he's made some. I mean, he's done some great work. He's done a bunch of lousy work. He has probably been screwed at various points. There was a fake scandal with him where where they caught him with supposedly with a bad term, but 30 years ago they caught him with a trans prostitute. Eddie Murphy said he saw somebody hitchhiking and gave him a ride. There's just when he was so famous, so young, and really he kept his life cleaner than 90% of people who became as famous as he did at a young age. He's a family guy. He's got like 8 kids. So yeah, he probably has some reason to be annoyed with some of the stuff that happened to him in entertainment.
I don't know if it has to do with any of that. I think what it is, here you go, Mark. This right here tells the whole story of Eddie Murphy. Here, I'll share it for you. Okay. This is why Eddie Murphy struggles to win those things exactly by this young man. Sadly, he passed away too soon. But what he says right here is why Eddie Murphy does not win.
You think I'm being typecast? I don't know. Think this cat is typecast? It's a fucking cat, you know? Ain't got much choice. What if he moved to a new neighborhood? You know, hung out with the poodle crowd, did poodle things, you know, become a poodle. Still be a cat, you know? But what if he convinced himself that he was a poodle and everyone else that he was a poodle? Wouldn't that make him a poodle? That's a good point. I mean, weird as shit, but that's a good point. Man, this whole metaphor is bullshit, yo. You hear me? You think everybody don't got a role to play, huh? You think a white boy could have played Omar? You think you could play a president? I could. And I think we've seen the last black president for a while. I'm just saying. I think you're gonna always be playing some version of Mike. Gangster Mike, old-timer gangster Mike, southern gangster Mike. But I'm not a gangster. Everyone that knows me knows that. Self-denying gangster Mike. Look, I picked these roles. Me, I made this path for myself. Did you? Yeah, did you? Or did they choose you? You think we would be doing what we're doing if we had a choice? Huh? Face it, man. Look, we from a certain type of people that come from a type of place that look a type of way. You know what that make us? Black. Typecast. If I were typecast, I'd be in jail or dead. But I'm here. I got out. Got myself out. You sure about that? Yeah.
And that right there is why Eddie Murphy will not win.
All right, and it's worse than ever because used to be if you wanted to audition for a movie or a TV role, you had to get your ass down to the casting office and sit there with 24 other people who maybe looked a lot like you because they were looking for us. And you know, it would be for 3 lines, and your acting skill didn't matter as much as if you matched the picture of the character that the producers have in their head. And now it's worse because you don't go to a casting office anymore. You make a casting tape. You've got a little corner set up in your shitty Hollywood apartment with a ring light, and you say your lines and you send them in. And now you're not up against 24 other people who showed up. You're up against 100 people who send in videos. And yeah, it's brutal. And there are only, a few dozen actors in Hollywood where they will tailor the role to you because you're a known and a valued commodity. But everybody else, you have to fit the picture in somebody else's head.
Yeah, we got to do that and everything like that. I know something else we've been talking about on this network, and sometimes Nick is a opponent against it, and everything is about public broadcasting. But apparently, there are 3 Bob Ross paintings that sold for more than $600,000 to help public television, and it looks like there are 27 still on the block. So Bob Ross is a very popular artist, and it looks like he's trying to do his part to help public television survive in these times when it's getting
his estate. Bob Ross is no longer with us. His estate.
Bob Ross did.
But yeah, his estate is selling off 27 or 30 Bob Ross paintings. And it looks like they're going for $200,000 a piece on average. So they will raise millions for public broadcasting.
Which is something that is going to be needed because public broadcasting has been taking a hit from the Trump administration and others as well, whether it's radio or television. So it's good to see that folks are doing this. The other thing that I saw that was interesting is apparently Disney, which sometimes gets a bad reputation for their public relations, did a interesting public relations thing yesterday. And I don't know if y'all would go for these tickets, but apparently they unveiled a new $499 year-long ticket for U.S. military members. So that was part of Veterans Day yesterday. So if you're a veteran, you could get these tickets that are offered to the veterans and everything. It looks like that's going to be on sale for a while. So if you were a veteran, would you take a $500 a year-long ticket?
Is it just for you? Does it include any family members?
It says for U.S. military members.
I assume that military and their families. And
I assume it's for the families too.
so if you live near Orlando or near Anaheim, California, yeah, that's a great deal because it's around $200 to go to Disneyland for one day. And if you live there and you can hit Disneyland 5 times a year, then yeah, that thing is paid for itself many times over.
Yeah, and apparently this says the new offering functions much like the low-cost annual pass, giving eligible service members unprecedented flexibility to visit the park anytime during the year without needing to buy or upgrade multiple tickets, and it was valid from January 1st to December 18th of next year, so 2026. So it's valid all year long and everything like that. But you are right, it is their family. Says the tickets can be purchased by eligible active or retired U.S. service members and their families through participating military-based ticket offices. So yeah, it's probably going to be worth it because you get to do it for a whole year and everything.
I'm wondering, yesterday, Trump has said anything about the Veterans Day?
That was one of the worst speeches. I tried to listen to that thing yesterday, Sasha. That was a campaign speech that he gave, and he tried to insult not only Biden, but he tried to attack Europe. Oh, well, we won those wars. Dude, it was horrible, Sasha. One of the worst speeches I've ever heard, especially when you're trying to recognize veterans.
Yeah, I didn't hear that particular speech, but like I said yesterday, I did hear him call in to a sports show that was based at Paris Island, and even that was a rambling speech where it covered everything from the Ryder's Cup to a number of other things, but it was not a good speech even in that particular one. And I'm sure he's probably upset that he somewhat got upstaged by the fact that on that same day, Veterans Day, former President Obama was greeting veterans and greeted warmly when they were coming to visit Washington, D.C. So
he was being president.
So Fox News will take a couple clips from a long-ass speech where he's kind of making sense, and they'll just show those. The same way that when Biden gave a speech, they showed the moments where he stumbled over his words. So and back to the annual pass. People who live in Southern California know if you want good value, you get the Knott's Berry Farm annual pass, where it's $99 for a year, or you get the Prestige Pass for $250, and you can bring 2 friends whenever you go. So, and it's a great amusement park, and you get discounted food too there. Right? It used to be free. You could buy a Knott's Pass a few years ago, and you could eat for free all year, and entire families would live their lives at frickin' Knott's Berry Farm.
Wow. Yeah, so that's definitely something that people are paying attention to and everything like that. But yeah, that was a bad speech, but he gives a lot of bad speeches and everything like that. I think he was upset at the NFL recently and everything like that. So he's being upset with the NFL and upset with a number of other folks as well. So he's always trying to find ways to get himself into the...
Trump destroyed an entire football league. I don't think it was called the XFL. It was, but every few years. What is it?
It was the XFL.
XFL. So they started an alternate football league. Trump tried to buy in, and anyway, his financial game playing basically destroyed the league, and it went out of business. And now I think he wants his name on the new stadium that the Washington Commanders are building. And
that was the other thing he did with the Paris Island. He was picking on the name of the Commanders, because I think he's one of those people that wants it to go back to the Redskins, because Redskins is not politically correct and everything like that.
Well,
So.
Commanders, I mean, it's not a good name. The Reds, you can't use Redskins anymore, but Commanders, it really has some unpleasant overtones to it. It makes me think of you know, they calls like some Southern gentleman with a plantation, the Colonel, but also it sounds like the Commander. You know, it sounds creepy and just slightly racist.
Yeah, it definitely sounds that way and everything like that. Hey, Jacoby, because I saw that as well, but apparently Bill Belichick is back in the news this time because people are wondering if he's going to take one of these NFL jobs, and he's trying to be like, I'm just looking at my current opponent, which is Wake Forest and everything like that. But there is some people, including those in the sports world, that are speculating that he might be trying to.
Nobody wants him in the NFL. He couldn't get an NFL job. That's why he needs to prove himself at Carolina, but nobody wants him in the NFL right now because there's a circus around him. On top of that, the times have passed him by. He's not up to date on newer things. So he's an old school coach, and outside of his tenure with Tom Brady at the Patriots, he hasn't had a great tenure in the NFL. When he was coach at Cleveland, they weren't really that good. When Tom Brady left, they really weren't that good because he started getting too top heavy on terms of trying to pick players and all this other stuff, trying to do this whole culture that he had 10 years ago but never evolved. So yeah, he's not going back to the NFL. Nobody's trying to hunt down Bill Belichick to come back. Everybody wants a younger coach right now. That's what I gather, because if you look at all the younger hires that have been hired lately, Mike Tomlin's clock is ticking, and Mike Tomlin he's the only coach in NFL history that has had a 500 that has yet to have a losing season. But what's going on with him in Pittsburgh, where he was so diehard, had to have Aaron Rodgers, and now they're struggling. They're about to lose that division because Baltimore's coming. And yeah, so Mike Tomlin's clock is ticking. It's just everybody wants a younger coach right now.
So right now, the North Carolina is 4-5 under Belichick. So he's got to win what? 2 more games to be bowl eligible and kind of semi.
Two more out of 3. I think they got 2 more.
That isn't good. His wins are against garbage teams. Every top 25, every top, I think 50 team he's played this year, he's gotten blown out. Matter of fact,
he had one win against the top 50.
2 weeks ago when they brought in who was it, Nelly or something? No, Ludacris. He lost to that team some ungodly amount. People were walking out of the actual stands before halftime. So he hasn't beaten anybody. And so he'll be, quote unquote, bowl eligible possibly, but nobody really cares right now because he hasn't made any noise beating anybody.
Yeah, they thought he was going to be a genius and he was going to be, by this point, like 7-2. And no.
That hasn't happened, and it probably won't happen next year either. Rick, you're like one of those people that has the reputation of being super smart and everything like that. So apparently astronomers are saying that the universe, I did say the universe, is officially past its prime. So they're saying the universe is getting colder and deadlier or deader, according to astronomers. So what's your take on that as one that studies all right?
So the universe is at least 14 billion years old, right?
Uh-huh.
And we've been studying it. We didn't even know that there were other galaxies until about 100 years ago. We just thought it was just a bunch of stars in one big glob. So we've only been studying the universe with any degree of precision for about 100 years. So we are going to make a ton of mistakes, and we're going to overstate like the results of like, we think the universe is expanding according to the Big Bang, but it's taken 14 billion years to get to the size that it is if there was one Big Bang. And we've been studying it for 100 years. You're not going to see any movement. All our conclusions about the universe are based on very limited information.
And so the space is so mind-blowing. Like November of 2026, next year, with the speed at which Voyager 1 is going, November 2026, that'll be one light day. One. And all these galaxies are light years. So
yeah, we launched Voyager in the 70s, right? So
yep.
About almost 50 years ago, and it's only traveled as far as light travels in a single day.
Yeah, and that's not even this year. That's next year. So that's the wild part. So when you think about all the stuff in space, like there's the idea that we might be in one of the voids. And if we're in one of the voids, there's nothing around us for millions of light years. And then the amount of the speed that you're going at, that we don't really think about that we're going at, and yes, the amount of material that's around us, in terms of, I mean, if you look at like all the different the Crab nebulas and all the other nebulas and all this space and all this stuff that's around it, it's technically like if you're an ant and the other bit of galaxy is in like Australia. So you're never going to make it. We're never going to make it there.
Yeah. So Star Trek and Star Wars has them visiting other planets like all the time. You don't, without being able to get to other stars, you don't have Star Trek. You don't have Star Wars. But the closest star to us is 4 light years away. And we can't even travel 1% the speed of light. And if we could, it would still take us 400 years to get to the nearest star, another 400 years to come back. The universe is way too big, and we're way too young.
We're way too young. But speaking about being way too young, apparently, because we always think of ourselves as being the top of the evolutionary chain and all along those lines when it comes to animals and everything like that. But scientists are doing some very interesting things and all along those lines, because they have apparently, Rick, you'll love this one. Scientists have trained bumblebees, those lovely animals that sometimes will sting you and everything, to understand a form of Morse code. So they've actually got them understanding Morse code. And this is showing that I guess bees can understand some stuff, including process and time, which they're saying is a first in insects. So maybe we're not. Maybe they're smaller animals are smarter than we think that they are.
If you pay an animal in something that they value, they can learn. I mean, you can train just about any animal.
Animals are smart. Look at it, from bees to killer orcas. Speaking of orcas, are just killer whales are beast. They are just unreal. When we talk about great whites and all this other stuff, the killers in the ocean, and talk about the sharks and how powerful. No, a shark is nothing compared to a killer whale that's eating its liver right now, because that's what's going on in the ocean.
You could a dolphin. You could probably make a dolphin perform as well as an average human on just about anything. If you gave the dolphin a girlfriend, dolphins love to get jerked off by humans because they have flippers. But every few years, somebody gets caught. Like the dolphins let it be known that they want somebody with hands to work them. You could get
since that's one of your favorite topics, Rick, that's the other thing that popped up in the sports that I was watching earlier and everything, because they were talking about double buried Beth or double buried something like that, because apparently this woman had multiple female organs and all along those lines. So she had more than one. So that might be interesting if you're interested.
I mean, somebody showed up on Oprah like 8 years ago with 2 vaginas. Yeah, and that, that stuff happens. It's like, which makes me mad when people say there's only 2 genders. Mistakes. And I don't know, there's just a wide variation along the spectrum. Most people are solidly, one gender or the other, but, we're evolved animals, and evolution isn't perfect. It's only good enough to get us to reproduce, to make the next generation. There's not much quality control. So, yeah, there's going to be all sorts of different stuff.
Well, I wish that we had Dr. Patmos here because I just saw another interesting story.
Yeah.
But apparently, there is a new
Real quick.
drug that just came out. Hold on a second. That is wiping out bladder cancer in 80%
Well,
of
wait,
its patients.
before we move on, there's a thing called diphalia, which is the penile duplication. It's one person in 5.5 million people has more than one penis.
One person and how many?
One person in 5.5 million people. So that means that there are what, about 60 people walking around, kind of gingerly in America because they have more than one penis.
Well, speaking of that, we were talking about science fiction that is now becoming science fact and everything along those lines. And I told you I got a cousin that was working on warp technology. He just recently got elected to a political office, so I'm not sure if he's still doing that warp work. But they said that thought to be impossible, scientists are now showing that quantum light can be beamed up to space. So maybe we will get some of this fast travel in the distant future and everything like that. Because it's not going to be the not distant future, everything like that. So what's our thoughts around this? Because they're saying that at one time it was thought to be impossible, but now they're saying quantum light can be beamed up to space.
Well, I mean, that's the only way that you can travel with any degree of speed is that you have to, it's like the Star Trek transporter. You got to break somebody down into code. Then you transmit the code via laser at the speed of light. Then you rebuild them at the destination.
Well, the only way, because even that would take you 400 years or more, because you have to be able to travel at the speed of light. It'd be quantum tunneling that you'd be doing, where they're talking about the connection between. Well, there's a paper that's out, and we're talking about quantum mechanics and all the other stuff, where they found, I think atoms, or I cannot remember exactly, where two things existed in time at the same time. Where it's supposed to be one thing, like there's only one of you that's supposed to exist in space time at one time. But they found in quantum mechanics two particles.
You can entangle particles, so you can know if you at the point of origin, if you mix two particles together in a certain way, then you can send each particle on its way, and you can instantly know what at one point where this other particle, what the other particle is doing 100 light years away. But it has little practical value.
Well, I got some good news to everybody.
Hold on. One more thing. Like the moon, round trip for light to the moon and back is 3 seconds, which is annoying. If you try to have a conversation with somebody, you have to wait 3 seconds every time. And so we're going to need AI to buffer those conversations.
Well, speaking of AI, and I know we've only got about a minute or two to go and everything, but just really quickly, I'm not going to get to you, Jacoby, because we can go a minute or two over. But I did see some good news for those, and I've got some that have got cavities. Apparently, scientists at the University of Nottingham have developed a new protein-based gel that can restore tooth enamel by mimicking the body's natural growth process. So they're saying that this could totally get rid of those folks that have got cavities. So apparently, this is a new thing that is coming out recently, which is a protein-based gel which contains no fluoride and everything. So apparently, there's going to be new ways to get your teeth fixed if you've got tooth issues like cavities and all along those lines. It is going to be less invasive.
Okay. I mean, there's going to be great medical stuff coming along in the next 20 years. All you have to do is not die until 2050.
That's the key.
Yeah, like by 2050, there will be all sorts of like 85-year-olds, 90, 100 people who are 100 years old who look like they're in their 50s, but really messed up. Like a weird, like lizardy 50-year-old hanging out in, wherever people go to try to get laid in 2050. There'll be these creepy, like old young people.
Old young people and everything. Speaking of old young people and everything, in about 2 hours, Sasha, we're going to have Modern Investment. What is your whole thing looking green today and everything like that? And how is your portfolio looking, and what will y'all be talking about at 1 o'clock?
Okay, I've lightened up on all my holdings. The only real large position that I have is NVDY. It's paying dividends, and
Goodbye, Crowley. I'll see you in a while.
they make announcements on Wednesdays, uh, the record date Thursdays, and payout Fridays every week. So if you have this, you may not need anything else. However, I still have a few shares of NVIDIA. They have earnings a week from now, and we'll see. Now, there is an interesting fight going on between in artificial intelligence space between Michael Burry, who is famous for the movie Deep Short, and he was one who predicted this market crash in 2008 and 9, and now he's predicting crash of artificial intelligence, complete crash, wipeout of millions of people, and so on. And he has now public fight with a gentleman by the name Alex Karp, who is in head of the this everybody loves this company, Palantir, and it's a public, and they are absolutely merciless to each other. And well, I understand both intentions. Of course, Alex Karp is fighting for the value of Palantir and wants it to go as high as possible. And Michael Burry is a short seller. Let's call the spade a spade. And of course, he wants Palantir, Nvidia, and all other stocks going down in flames. That's where he will make a lot of money. So this is very interesting to watch how it's all developing. Nvidia, by the way, today is slightly down. It opened up, but then it went slightly down, trying to recover. Nothing major. Palantir is down quite a bit today, but we'll see. It's still early in the day. We'll see how it will fare. And see, the reason is that all these so-called data centers require a lot of energy. We all know that. Now, the problem with that is that the only real source of energy is the mini nuclear reactors. But they will be in place not earlier than 5-6 years from now. And in the meantime, the all these chips, extraordinary, very expensive chips, for example, from NVIDIA. These superscalers, they're paying enormous amount of money. And what Michael Burry is accusing them, that the lifespan of these chips is only 2 years' time, because in 2 years there will be even much better and more powerful chips. So they are, he says, artificially inflating their annual statements and quarterly statements as well, showing the depreciation of their purchases 7 years, in fact, when it's only 2 years. So it's a very interesting situation. I'm following up on that. And well, in the meantime, the market is a market. So regardless of what they're saying, the market will do its own things. And market is always right.
It'll do its own thing, and we'll be talking about that in Modern Investment at 1 o'clock with you and Milan, and hopefully Jim E will be joining us as well. But we'll have that conversation at 1 o'clock in about less than 2 hours from now. So I'll see you then, Sasha, and I'll catch you, Toby, sometime tomorrow or some other time. But right now we're going to get on out of here. I see Rick's already left, as has the rest of the folks as well. But I'll see you at 1 o'clock, Sasha.
Bye-bye.